I'm going to do some examples of very basic derivatives of implicit functions. Okay, so let's do these. We're going to suppose that y is a differentiable function of x. So we want to find two derivatives, the derivative with respect to x of x cubed plus y, and the derivative with respect to x of square root of x times y. So let's do each of these. So first, let's do the first one, the derivative of x cubed plus y with respect to x. So here are our fundamental operation is addition. So we're going to use our sum rule. So this is the derivative of x cubed plus the derivative of y, both with respect to x. So the derivative of x cubed with respect to x is 3x squared. And the derivative of y with respect to x, well, that's something we don't know. So we're just going to have to write it as dy dx. We have some incomplete information there. So we're going to write it as dy dx. Let's do the other example. The derivative of square root of x times y with respect to x. So here our fundamental operation is multiplication. So we need to use the product rule. And the product rule says that we need to take the derivative of square root of x with respect to x times y plus the square root of x times the derivative of y with respect to x. That's what the product rule tells us. So let's do each of these. We're going to have to take this derivative, the derivative of the square root of x with respect to x. Okay. And we get 1/2 x to the negative 1/2 times y. And now we take square root of x and multiply it times the derivative of y with respect to x. But since we don't know what y is, we're just going to write it as dy dx. And that would be our answer. This would be our entire answer. Let's do one more. Let's take the derivative of 1 over y with respect to x. So in order to take the derivative of 1 over y, some of you might try the quotient rule, and that is perfectly fine. However, it might be easier to think of 1 over y as y to the negative 1. So we're going to take the derivative of y to the negative 1 with respect to x. So in order to do this, remember we need to think about y as a function of x. So first, we're going to have to use a chain rule. We're first going to have to take the derivative of y to the negative 1 with respect to y, and then multiply by the derivative of y with respect to x. So first we need to take the derivative with respect to y, and then multiply by the derivative of y with respect to x. So if we take the derivative with respect to y, we use our normal power rule, negative 1 times y to the negative 1, and then we multiply by dy dx. dy dx is what we don't know, so we're just going to write it as dy dx. If you prefer writing dy dx as y prime, that's perfectly fine too. And then of course you can leave it like this, or you can go ahead and write it as negative 1 over y squared times dy dx.